unless you guys all just kind of want to hang out and listen to me trying to figure out how to get this thing work, we'll dive into the content. Is that cool? Okay, everybody seems to like that idea much, much, much better. So real quick, my name is Ryan Dice. I'm the CEO of Digital Marketer. And basically what we do at Digital Marketer is we do this crazy digital marketing stuff. We figure out things that work from marketing a number of other businesses, and then we get to report about them on Digital Marketer. So I'm not going to talk a lot about myself because I recognize that there's some of you out there who already know who I am, and the ones that don't, you really don't care unless I've actually given you some value. So let me attempt to come out here and give you some value in advance, and then if you have any questions for me at the end, hopefully I will have a chance to answer those. So what I want to talk about today is what I call the ultimate email game plan, and how to automatically and effortlessly convert new leads into paying customers. So I think it's safe to say that everybody out there, no matter what type of business you have, your customers use email, right? So this is not just something that works and makes a lot of sense for web-based businesses. This works whether you own a shoe store. This works whether you're running a professional practice, if you're a doctor, a dentist, chiropractor, whatever type of business that you are in, you have an opportunity to follow up and nurture a relationship with your customers, with your clients via email. But tragically, most businesses don't do a very good job of this. They don't do it very strategically. So what we figured out is a really great kind of 5-phase plan for walking people through that process that ideally will turn them from a stranger into a friend, into a customer, into a raving fan. And that's really the first thing that I want to talk about with you today, is exactly how we do that, what we call the 5 phases of invisible selling. Okay, the 5 phases of invisible selling. Then I want to talk about how you can make more money by sending less emails. I know most of us, at least our customers and our clients and our prospects, they're not just wishing we would send them a whole lot more emails. They're wishing maybe that we would send them less. So how do we get that impact? How do we get the result that we want without just inundating our people with emails? So I'll talk about how we do that. I also want to talk about where you should send all your clicks in virtually every promotion, and give you a proven 3-step follow-up series that nearly always double sales. And finally, talk about the exact number of emails you should be sending your list each week and why. Also, another thing that I promised to give you guys is a word-for-word email that you should send anytime somebody comes onto your list, whether it's them dropping a business card into a fishbowl, or whether it's them opting in to your list, whatever it is. How do you welcome them, right? How do you welcome them to that list and make sure that they really see you? So the big question, right? You have a subscriber, so now what? You've gone out there and you have some people on your email list. What do you do now? I found that a lot of folks, they spend a whole lot of time thinking, how am I going to build a list? How am I going to get a subscriber list? And in fact, it's kind of propagated what I call the great big lie, which is that the money is in the list, right? You've probably heard that before. The money's in the list. Who can get the most subscribers, right? That's where the money is. And the reality is that's not the case. But admittedly, it's a bit of a chicken and egg thing, right? Do you first focus on building a big list, or do you focus on generating as many or do you focus on generating as much revenue as possible from that list? So what comes first, right? The building of the list, or the strategy around monetizing that list? And really what I want to put forth to you today is that there's no point in building a list. There's no point in asking people to opt into a newsletter. There's no point in even putting that little fishbowl out on your counter if you're brick and mortar until you know what you're going to do with the lead once you have it. Okay? If you knew that, then that's what is most important. So your number one priority is to answer this question: how will you monetize a lead once you have it? Okay? How are you going to monetize a lead once you have it? And that's what we're going to talk about today. You need a game plan, right? You need what we call a machine. So hopefully, in the good folks in Infusionsoft, when they had you register for this when they had you register for this, they gave you access to this download. Because what we're going to be doing is really walking through this PDF together. Walking through the PDF together, talking about the 5 different phases and how you can optimize them for the people that are coming in to your list. Again, whatever place they're coming in through, hopefully once they're there, then you've got, you know exactly what you're doing with them. So let's dive in and talk about the first phase. Okay, so when we look at this first phase here, this first phase is known as indoctrination. Okay, the indoctrination phase. And it's a 3-email phase, and I'll talk about what those 3 emails should be. But the idea of this phase is really to turn strangers into friends, right? Turn a stranger into a friend. I think about the indoctrination series as that first date, okay? So the first time you ever go out on a date with someone, you know, Chris Rock, I don't know if there's any Chris Rock fans out there, but Chris Rock liked to joke that, you know, when you go out on a date with someone, you're not going out on a date with them, you're going out with their representative, right? That's kind of the purpose that the indoctrination series serves, right? As soon as they come on their list, now they're hearing from your representative in a sense. So you want to do things like you want to ask them to whitelist you, which we're going to talk about in just a second, but mostly you want to show them your best stuff. You want to put your best foot forward. I mean, if it's a first date, you're going to wear your favorite outfit, you're going to tell your funniest jokes and your funniest story, and you're going to try to put your best foot forward. And this is critical, okay? This is critically important because all too often, subscribers will come onto your email list. They'll come into your database, and they'll all just start getting emails from you one day. And they don't, you know, it's if you send out an email newsletter, then maybe they just get your next newsletter. If you got a promotion, then they'll get the next promotion that goes out. But there's no series that really welcomes them and indoctrinates them to who you are and who your brand is. Nothing about it ever gets particularly personal. So I want to show you exactly how we do that, and I want to show you really the first email that that people should be receiving. We call it the perfect welcome mail. Now, I'm going to zoom in, so don't freak out if you can't see this just yet. But when I show you the mail itself, just know the words are interchangeable. Okay, the words that you put in your perfect welcome mail need to be yours. They need to come from you, right? They need to sound like you. So as I'm going through this, don't pay, you know, particular attention to the words or the phrases. Okay, there's nothing that's so magical about that. Pay attention to the structure of the mail, okay? Pay attention to the structure of the mail. So now, let's pretend like someone just opted into a form. Maybe it's some type of a web form, and they opted in to get a special report, or they opted in to get a coupon code or something like that. Or again, maybe they called up and you know, you put them on, you know, you asked for their name and email address, and they found their way into your database through a physical means. But whatever the mechanism was, they're now in your database. They just arrived, and this is the very first email that they're going to receive from you. So, subject line, welcome to, you know, whatever, you know, welcome to kind of whatever the name of your company is or whatever. Here's where to start. Now, this is critical. Everyone wants to know, where do I start, right? Where do I begin? So welcome to our newsletter, here's where to start. Whatever that thing is, tell them where to start. Then you want to do something kind of weird. You want to introduce yourself. Now, this is something that we as human beings know to do. This is something that we do when we meet people, right? We go to them and we say, you know, hi, nice to meet you, my name is Ryan, right? And you introduce yourself to someone. And they introduce themselves back. And yet, when we go to email, we forget to do that, right? People will sign up, and the email will just come from a brand, like, you know, confirmed, you're now on our list, right? You would never do that in real life, right? If somebody came up and they introduced themselves to you, you would never say, confirmed, I know your name, right? It's completely bizarre to think about doing that in real life, and yet we do it on the web all the time. So to say, you know, hi, my name is Bob, and I'm the CEO here of whatever your company is, right? Now, a lot of people say, okay, but should the email come from a person or should it come from the company? And you'll see this a lot of times, right, where an email is signed management. Don't do that, okay? Don't do that. Emails should always be written by a person. You know, if you want to put the company name in the from field or something like that, that's fine. But you need to think, who is writing this email? Who's the author of this email? Is it the owner of the company? Is it somebody else at the company? Right? But it needs to come from someone. So hello, and then, my name is and hello. You're basically saying hi and welcome, right? Pretty simple. I'm not going to dwell on it too long because it's obvious, and yet I see so few email marketers doing it. Okay? So, hi, my name is blank. And then, here's who I am. I want to take a second, just say hello and welcome you to the family. Right now, if saying welcome you to the family isn't appropriate, then change it. But there you go. Seriously, on behalf of myself and the entire Acme team, I want you to know we're truly excited and grateful that you decided to join us. I know this is going to be an absolute game changer, blah, 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 blah. Again, this is just the hi and welcome part. Okay, so that's step one. Hello, my name is, welcome, I'm glad you're here. Right, that's step one. Hello and welcome. Step two is, here's what you can expect. Now, a lot of times people will say, because if they're subscribed to our list at Digital Marketer, they'll say, gosh, I can't believe that you send an email every single day. Doesn't that get annoying? Don't people not like that? And I'm sure that some people, say, I don't want to get an email every single day and they'll unsubscribe. But the answer, for the most part, is no. People don't seem to mind. And I think the main reason that they don't seem to mind is that we send out good stuff. But I think another reason why they don't mind is we tell them from the start, here's what you can expect. We are going to send you an email every single day. So if they expect to receive an email every single day, then they're not surprised when it arrives. Now, I'm not suggesting that you send an email every single day to your list. It depends a lot on your market and who you're serving. We'll talk in just a little bit about how many emails you should be sending. But just know that that's not, I'm using this as an example, not saying that you should be sending an email every single day. But the point is, you need to tell them. So tell them, look, we're going to publish fresh, awesome marketing content to our blog on Wednesdays and Fridays, and then once it's live, we'll send you an email with a short description. Moving forward, there we go. Right, we'll send you an email with a short description, and so that you can go ahead and read it. Right, we'll also send you emails about new export courses software, or we'll send you emails about sales that we're running or special promotions. Right, now that you're on our list, you're an insider, you can do all this stuff. Okay, do all these things, send some basic info to them. So that's kind of where it is. So sound fair? Good. So step one, hello and welcome. Step two, here's what you can expect. Step three, here's what you need to do next. Okay? So you see this line at the bottom. Here's what you need to do now to get started. Okay? Here's what you need to do now to get started. By the way, some of you are asking questions about, will you get a copy of these slides? I have sent the slides over to the good folks in Infusionsoft, and they are free to make them available to you as well. So if you want to take screenshots as you go, feel free, but I will be happy to make these slides available to you after, along with some other stuff that I'm going to send you. So don't feel like you got to be copying and all this stuff down if you're not a fast typer. Again, take notes on the structure. That's really what matters most. Okay? So step one, hi and welcome. Step two, what you can expect. Step three, here's what to do next. Right? Here's what to do next. Or in this case, we say, here's what to do now to get started. Then you want to actually tell them step one, step two, step three. Your subscribers want this. Okay? They want to be told exactly what to do. And this isn't like in some creepy, domineering kind of way. They're new here, right? They're new here. So telling them, okay, here's what you do next is just a friendly thing to do. So step one, whitelist and prioritize all emails. This is critical, especially in this day and age, right? More and more emails are getting put into the promotions folder of Gmail. A lot of them are getting filtered out completely. So encourage and instruct your new subscribers right now when they're the most excited about you and what you're doing to whitelist all of your emails. And if you're wondering, how do I do that? Here is a link to our whitelist page. If you go to digitalmarketer.com/email-whitelisting, you can check out our whitelist page and get a chance to see that. And if you want to snag some of that content and model it for your own, you can certainly feel free to do that. Okay, so there is ours if you want an example of a whitelist page, if you want to snag some screenshots of things like that. You're not going to hurt my feelings. That's kind of my gift to you. But it basically just walks them through, here's how you whitelist us. Now, that seems like a simple thing, and you might be thinking, oh, good, this is going to help our deliverability, and it will. But the more important thing is it actually helps your open rate and the consumption of all the future emails that they're about to send, okay? Now, listen closely because this is really important. It's not so much the fact that they whitelisted you that helps, although that does help. It's the fact that they took the time to whitelist you, right? Now they have made an investment of their time and of their energy. So when they make that investment of their time and of their energy to go ahead and whitelist all your emails, the mere act of doing that makes them far more likely to open and consume your emails, okay? So just asking them to do it is important. So that's always step one for our perfect welcome email, right? Go and whitelist us. Step two, I like to ask them to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, right? I'm telling them email is great, but if you want to make sure that you don't miss anything, follow us on Facebook, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Pretty simple, okay? That's typically step two. And optional, if you have a company Facebook and Twitter account, and then you also have a personal one, and you want to have them follow and like you there, you can do that as well, right? It all just depends on really the structure of your company. Then we close with a PS, okay? Now, the important thing of the PS is that it's setting up the email that's going to follow the next day. Remember, I said that the indoctrination series is typically 3 emails, okay? It's typically 3 emails. The first email is the one I just showed you, this perfect welcome mail, right? The one that tells them, hi, nice to meet you. Here's what you can expect. Here's what to do next. Now, the second email that follows is going to take one of 2 paths. Either you're going to start showing them some of your best stuff, or you're going to begin what we call a bonding campaign. Now, a best of campaign is just what it sounds like, right? And you can see here in this PS right here, PS, the next few days are going to feel like Christmas because as an added bonus for subscribing, I'm going to be sending you my best of the best, blog posts, my best of the best videos. Tomorrow you're going to get the first of the big 3. Okay, stay tuned, it's going to be good. So you're kind of previewing the fact that tomorrow you're going to be sending them something. Now here's why we want to do this. Number one, the reason I said before, right? This is a first date. So when you go out on a first date, you want to make sure you tell your best jokes, right? You want to tell your best stories. You want to wear your nicest outfit. For some of you, if you're out there blogging on a regular basis and doing content marketing, be honest, some of your best stuff you posted up a year or 2 years ago, right? And so while the people who were subscribed back then saw it, the people who are subscribing today, they may never see your best stuff. They might see the most current, but that may not be your best. So this is an opportunity for you to highlight your best stuff and make them see, oh, wow, this is really great content. So that's kind of the main reason that we're doing it. We're also training them that when we send emails, good stuff happens, right? Here's an email with some really high quality stuff. I hope you like it, okay? That's kind of, if we want to go best of. So email number 2, if you want to go the best of route, email number 1 is that perfect welcome email. Email number 2 is the first best of email where you're simply saying, hey, here's a really great blog post. Email number 3 is here's 2 other pieces of content that I think you'll like, right? So you're sending out a couple of pieces of content over the course of 3 days, just really inundating them with value on the front end. Now, what if you don't have, in fact, somebody asked this, what if you don't have any content, right? What if you're not doing content marketing? Then what? Then you would run what we call a bonding campaign, okay? A bonding campaign. With a bonding campaign, the idea here is not necessarily to highlight your content, but just to get a little bit personal. So tell them some stories. And in fact, so you might tell them a riddle, right? So P.S., do you know the number one reason why most real estate agents charge 3% commissions, right? If you happen to be serving the real estate space, right? Well, you can ask them a riddle, or you can start to tell a story that finishes the next one, that finishes the next email, something to really engage their attention. The other thing that you can do in a bonding series is you can post up someone else's content. You can say, hey, I came across this video the other day, or I came across this TED Talk, and it was really impactful to me. I hope you'll like it. And so in email number 2 and email number 3, you can send them content that someone else created, but that was impactful for you and that you think will be impactful for them. And that's critical because a lot of people think, oh, I need to produce a lot of my own content. You actually don't, okay? You don't. I mean, it might be better if you do, but you don't have to. I mean, think about if you were really interested in schnauzers, for example, right? If that was your thing, you had a schnauzer puppy and you were just really into schnauzers. If a friend of yours happened to see an article about schnauzers, then, and they, in a magazine, and they pulled it out and you know, folded it up, put it in an envelope, slapped a stamp on it, and sent it to you, you wouldn't thank the author of the article. You would thank your friend who sent it to you. The same thing is happening here, okay? The point is, with the indoctrination series, we're putting our best foot forward, right? We're showing value first, and we're telling them a little bit more about who we are so that they feel like they're really starting to get to know us, okay? That's the first date. That's what indoctrination is all about. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pause before we move on to the next one to answer some questions. So let's see. Louise asked, are there not IP issues with that, with sharing other people's content? Nancy kind of asked the same thing. There is a problem with taking content, somebody else's content, and just like copying and pasting it and sending it to them, right? But where somebody has posted a YouTube video, or if there was a TED Talk, or if there's an article on somebody else's site, there's nothing wrong. And in fact, the people who posted that content, I'm sure, would appreciate it, with linking over directly to their content. So if there's a blog post that someone produced that you feel like was really, really, really exceptional, just tell the people in your list, hey, go read this blog post. I think it's great. It doesn't matter that you're sending them off your site, right? You're just wanting to deliver value in advance. So yeah, great question. No, you can't just take somebody else's content, you know, copy and paste it and drop it into an email, or just put it on your website without asking. That's not the point, okay? The point is not to drive traffic. The point is to indoctrinate, okay? And if you go to like TED.com, which is just a list of, it's a you can find a really great video that will be in awesome talks on any number of subjects. You can find a really great video that will be impactful to your audience. Okay, I promise you will find them. And my guess is you already know, right? There's a video that you've seen, maybe a video that you've even forwarded on to friends, or an article, or a joke, something like that, right? You already have it in your life. So just forward that on as well. Let's see, is there any? Yeah, so Lisa, yes, it is fine to send links. A couple more checks for questions. Curtis says, is it okay that our best of content is centered around the same topic? Yeah, Curtis, ideally your best of content would be centered around whatever it is that you're selling, right? So, you know, if you're a recruiting service, for example, then it would make sense for your best of content to be sending out articles that you've written about, you know, hiring and stuff like that, how to evaluate resumes. Ideally, your best of positions you or your company in an obvious expert status. If we have any machine owners on, then this is largely review. So yeah, and the website I mentioned, it was TED.com, 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 not head.com. Sorry. So Jonathan asked a really great question. Will all of these emails not overwhelm the subscribers at first? Great question, Jonathan. So we're hitting them boom, 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 3 days in a row. Is that going to overwhelm a subscriber? The answer is no. And here's why. And the reason I can say that, by the way, Jonathan, with such, you know, in such a definitive manner is because we've tested this across a bunch of markets. We also have a number of people who are testing this strategy. I mean, because I've written about it and I've taught on it, and I know that it works. Even people who were worried about it, I said, please try it. They tried it and they're like, yeah, it did work. Remember, let's go back to the first date analogy. When you first start dating someone, how often do you communicate, right? You communicate multiple times a day. And so think about the first email. So they just registered. They just opted in. Something happened. To trigger that initial welcome email, there's nothing at all weird about that, right? You expect that. Everybody triggers those. So the first one, nothing weird at all. Then in the first one, at the end of it, you're telling them, hey, I'm going to send you an email tomorrow, and it's going to have some great stuff in it. if they get annoyed that you sent them really good content and didn't ask them for anything, then they're probably not your ideal customer, right? So will some people get frustrated and leave? Yeah, what you're doing is you're expediting the inevitable, but that's that's okay. Philip says, is there a different approach if I created the email list by finding names on various public sites? So my assumption with everything that I'm about to show you, okay, is that the people that are on your list, it is permission-based follow-up. And truthfully, Philip, that's the only type of email marketing I suggest that you do. I really do not recommend or endorse going out there and accumulating and acquiring subscriber lists and dumping them into an email thing. I don't want to go into it, but because there are certain can spam regulations around that, where in most cases, you're not even allowed to do that. But I'm not an attorney, so I don't want to go down that rabbit trail. What I would simply say is offer somebody something of value and say, I've got this really great report, or I've got this coupon code, I've got this thing, and get them to subscribe. Get them to sign up. Those people are going to be far, far, far more valuable if it's permission-based. That's really the only type of email marketing that I really recommend doing. Mark asked, at what point should you ask for the sale? Mark, I'm going to answer that question, my man. So hang tight. I promise I'm going to answer that. I'll just defer it. And then Suzanne, I'll take one more question. If they've come via an opt-in with a product incentive like an ebook, is it okay to attach that product to the email, or would you send it or would you send it or would to the welcome mail? And I'll show you exactly how that's going to happen right next. In fact, that is an ideal transition that I'm going to avail myself of. Okay, so that's the indoctrination series, and it's designed to do just that. The indoctrination series is brand-centric. It indoctrinates your subscribers to who you are and who your company is. Okay? Now, to the point that Suzanne just made, what if they registered to get an ebook, right? What if they registered to get an ebook, right? What if they registered in that thing? Well, that's what the engagement sequence does, okay? Engagement sequence. So if you look on your handout, this is the engagement series. So what you want to do with the engagement series is it is interest-based follow-up. It is lead magnet-centric. So whatever that thing is that they came in on, right, the engagement series is going to talk to them about that topic specifically. So let me give you an example. Let's get out of hypothetical land. Let me give you an example. Let's say I'm a golf instructor, okay? So if I'm a golf instructor and I put out a report on, how to add, 20 yards to your drive, right? This simple wrist cock trick that will add 20 yards to your drive. So if somebody opts in for that, right, if they opt in for that report, what I want to do is I want to trigger both the indoctrination series, if they're brand new, and the engagement series. Now, the beautiful thing about Infusionsoft, and the reason that we use Infusionsoft, is they make this very simple to do through their campaign builder. And I'll talk about, at the end, they gave me a cool link that I can give you guys where if you want to talk to somebody about how to do this, there's somebody at Infusionsoft that can tell you how to do it. Full transparency, I don't know how it works, and you don't have to either. There are really smart technical people who know how to do this stuff and can just set it up for you for almost nothing. But the idea is when a lead comes into Infusionsoft, it knows both the indoctrination series that we just talked about before, and let's also trigger the relevant engagement series. So the engagement series, the first thing that it's going to do is it's going to deliver the thing that they asked for. It's going to deliver the thing that they asked for. Here's the thing that you asked for. Now, you may be thinking, okay, but doesn't that mean they're going to then be getting 2 emails at the same time? And the answer is yes. Now, I know that Jonathan, who asked that question before, is now probably freaking out and saying, oh, wait a minute, they're going to be getting 2 emails at the same time? And again, the answer is yes, but it's not weird. Put yourself in the shoes of the user, okay? If you are the user, then then you just signed up for something. In one, here's a welcome email. Welcome to our newsletter. Welcome to the team. Welcome to our company. Really glad that you're here. And then here's the thing that you asked for, right? It's not weird that those come in two separate emails. And in fact, if you think about it, you've experienced this before, and you didn't think much of it. And you didn't mind that they both came in because you were actively engaged and excited about the subject at that moment in time. Now, if you continue to send 2 emails every day for an extended period of time, yeah, people are going to get real sick of it, right? Just the same way that as much as I love my wife, we don't text and talk as often every single day like we did when we were first dating, right? It gets to a point where it's like, cool, I have nothing new to report, right? And that's okay. That's how relationships work. So keep that in mind. So yeah, they're going to go on at the same time. Now, to answer the question, I think it was Suzanne that asked it before, maybe it was Mark. That was Mark. He said, okay, so when do we ask for the order? He said, okay, so when do we ask for the order? It's in the engagement series where you ask for the order, because in the engagement series, you know what they're interested in. You know what they're excited about. As what they want. So let's go back to our golf instructor. Okay? Let's go back to our golf instructor. All right. Okay? Let's go back to our golf instructor. All right. Trick that's going to add 20 yards to your drive. So if somebody opted in for that, I know as a golf instructor that they're interested in adding more yards to their drive. So there's no reason for me to follow up and talk to them about putting. That's not what they're interested in. What they're interested in is driving the ball further. So this engagement series, it's going to ask for the order, but it's going to ask for the order by referencing the thing we know they're interested in. So the first email comes out, hey, here's your special report. By the way, since you're interested in driving, we've got this special long drive clinic, coming up. You should call and schedule an appointment, right? We're not saying we've got to go and take a practice session, right? We're referencing the specific thing that they raised their hand and showed an interest in. The same thing is true if you're an e-commerce seller, right? Or if let's say I'm a dentist. Okay, if I'm a dentist and somebody opted in to get a coupon for teeth whitening, I don't want to follow up and ask them about Invisalign. I want to talk to them about teeth whitening. So you want to have a specific lead magnet that addresses a specific topic so that you can have a specific follow-up. This is how you're able to actually send less emails, okay, because you don't have to mail them as often when you know what they actually want. And they're telling you what they want by raising their hand. Now, big question that people ask, how long should this be? How long should I follow up? A typical engagement series that we run, they're actually fairly small. They're fairly short engagement series. 3 to 7 emails tops, and then they're going to go back into our main broadcast list, which I'll talk about in just a second. Okay, but we're typically going to send 3 to 7 emails over a 5 to 10 day period. Okay, that's typical. Okay, a lot of folks will tell you, no, once somebody comes onto this email list, you need to follow up with them forever. I can assure you, we tested it. That's not the best way to do it. At some point, they either buy or they're just not interested in that. You need to talk about something else. Okay? So what I will tell you is that for the most part, product price determines length. If you're trying to sell something very, very, very expensive, then you're going to have an extended engagement series that educates and nurtures. If you're trying to sell something fairly inexpensive, then it can be pretty quick, right? If you're just trying to get them to call you or you're trying to get them to come into your store, then again, it can be pretty quick, right? Come on in. Now, an example engagement series, and I will send you all, everyone who's on this, I've already given it to the folks in Infusionsoft. They know to send it out to you, okay? So hitting your inbox as soon as we are done here is a link that will give you access to our Game Logic Fear email series. So you can copy and paste this. Just for the sake of time, I didn't want to spend a lot of time explaining it here because I've already recorded another video where I explained it. But the long and short of it is this. There are 3 reasons that people buy. The first is for personal gain. The second is because logically they've considered all the options and they've determined your product, your service to be best. And then the third is out of fear. Fear of loss, fear of missing out. That's where scarcity comes into play. That's where the sale is ending comes into play. And so what this 3-part email series does is just that. Email number 1 is all about gain. Look, I know you're interested in driving the ball further, so if you want to do it, then if you want to drive the ball further, then come to this long drive clinic we're doing, right? That's gain. Very dead on. Logic is, logically, if you consider all the options that are available to you, you could read a book, you could do this, at some point you need to come to the conclusion that just coming out to a live clinic where somebody's there to help you is the best option, right? So you're making more of a logical argument. And then fear is, hey, the clinic is going to start this weekend. If you don't come, you're going to miss out. Okay? That's fear of loss. So that's gain, logic, fear. That's how that basic structure breaks down with the engagement series. And again, this is going on at the same time that engagement series is. So depending on, at the same time, indoctrination. So what that means is that for the first 3 days, they very well could receive 2 emails in a day from you. And again, believe it or not, that's okay, because this is the point in time when they're most excited about you. Now, you do want to set up your email automation, whatever CRM you're doing. This is fairly easy to do in Infusionsoft, but whatever CRM you're using, you want to set it up to where that indoctrination series only goes out to brand new subscribers. So if somebody's already on your list and they opt in for a new special report or for a new offer, you don't want them to you don't want to resend that indoctrination email to them. Then you're kind of like that guy that, like, you've met that person that every time you see them, like, they reintroduce themselves to you, and you're like, yeah, we've met like 15 times, right? You don't want to be that person. So, but setting that up in the triggering is pretty simple. Okay, so before we move on to the third phase, I want to take some questions about what we just talked about. Dee says, Infusionsoft just sent a link to the webinar again, not a PDF. I think it's going to go out afterwards, Dee, so hang tight. And if it doesn't, I'll follow up with them to make sure. As far as a replay, Niels, that's up to them. Hopefully they'll offer it. Andy says, I have quite a lot of our database opt in for multiple things within the space of a couple of weeks for additional options. Do you just leave out the engagement series as it's already run once? Yeah, if they've already seen, I think you mean, do you leave out the indoctrination series? I hope that's what you mean. If the answer is indoctrination, then yes, you would leave it out if it's already run once. It's a little more tricky if they wind up in multiple engagement series, because you still want to give them what they're asking for, but if they're asking for it, then I think you got to send it to them. Andy says, we're trying to get them to book a consult for our websites, which are around £2,000 in total value. Yeah, Andy, so the role of the engagement series is not necessarily to sell something, okay? The role of the engagement series is to take them from where they are right now, which is kind of a stranger, right? Now, hopefully the indoctrination series turns them into, more of a friend, or at least an acquaintance, right? And then the role of an engagement series is to get them to ascend to either a prospect or to a low-level customer. So maybe the engagement series is saying, hey, give us a call. Hey, book a time. Let's talk about your, specific need. So you wouldn't have to, and this is important when you look at Gain, Logic, Fear, at the series I'm going to send you. Because the series that I'm going to send you, the call to action is click on this link, right? Click on this link, go check this thing out. For you may replace that with give us a call, right? Or click on this link to schedule an appointment, right? So you can adjust the call to action, but it's not always about getting them to buy. It's just about getting them to take that next logical step that moves them down the prospect customer life cycle. Tristan says, do I need a different product for each engagement email? No, not necessarily, Tristan. Let's go back to the example of the golf instructor, right? So if I'm a golf instructor, I just want to give a bunch of private lessons. So, whether I'm giving somebody a private lesson because they're interested in driving the ball further, or whether I'm giving them a private lesson because they're interested in becoming a better putter, it's still a private lesson. The product is the same. But if somebody opts in for a special report about driving the ball further, then I'm going to try to get them to take a private lesson, and I'm going to speak to them in the terms of driving the ball further, because I know that's what they're interested in. If they opted in for something about becoming a better putter, then I'm going to say, well, you really need to schedule a private lesson so we can get you to become a better putter, right? The lead magnet and the engagement series in particular, they inform the interest the specific topical interest that your prospect has. And so what you offer them, as long as it does fulfill on that, it's really irrelevant. It could be a bunch of different things. It could be the same thing. So if I'm a golf instructor and I just want to do private lessons, then I'm selling the same thing to all those people, private lessons. If on the other hand, I'm a publisher, I'm a golf publisher and I have, videos on how to putt better, or I have videos on how to drive the ball further, then if somebody opts in for something about putting better, then I'm going to sell them my video series on putting, which would be a different product than the video series on driving the ball. So really it depends on your model and what you're trying to sell. Alana says, I know you said the content slides will be available. Was wondering about the audio. Yeah, I believe so, Alana. That's up to the good folks in Infusionsoft. But my hope is that they will make recordings available to you guys, but that's kind of on them. Robert says, how do I set that up in Infusionsoft so they don't get it again? Honestly, Robert, I don't know. We have an Infusionsoft specialist in my office that put that together, and I know that the folks at Infusionsoft can tell you how to do that as well. So I would direct all technical questions to them. Maurice is asking for more examples of lead magnets. It's kind of hard, Maurice, because there's so many different ones that you could do, but I will tell you, one of the simplest ones, the two simplest lead magnets you can ever produce are this. Number one, you can answer the number one question. Right? Just answer a frequently asked question. So that is a very, very simple one, but hey, opt in. I know a guy who's in the dating space, right? So he showed single guys how to get dates with women. And the biggest question he got is, how do I know when it's okay to kiss a girl? Right? I don't want to do it too soon and be creepy, and I don't want to wait too long and be a prude. Right? So how do I know when the right time is? So he put out a lead magnet that was the kiss test, how to tell if she's ready to be kissed. Right? It answered the number one question. So that's one way to think. Think, what's the biggest question that I get all the time? Create a lead magnet that answers it. The other way to do is to produce a list. Right? People love lists. Right? So if I were just selling any type of video editing services, I might put together a list of 10 tools you need, how to set up the perfect, or 10 things you need to set up the perfect at-home video studio for under $1,000. Now, I just made that up out of thin air, but, cool. If I want to set up my own little video studio at a home office or whatever, I'd download that. Okay, and you need the Panasonic whatever and this with the flux capacitor thingy. Again, not a video person. So you give them the list of everything that they need, and then you say, by the way, if you need any help setting this stuff up or editing the videos once you shot them, give us a call. Right? You're delivering the value in advance, and then you're offering your services or your product on the back of that. So, but if you think about it in those two categories, what's a big question they have, and what's a list of things that they would like to receive, you can pretty much come up with a lead magnet for almost anyone. A third category would just be to give them a great deal, give them a coupon. Right? So as opposed to just sending people a coupon, have them opt in to become a part of a sale. You're seeing a lot more big brands doing this, right? It's almost like their own internal Groupon, right? We're running a big sale, opt in to be invited into the sale. We call that a velvet rope offer. Chiara asks, so is there an overlap between indoctrination and engagement? Chiara, yes, those would be sent at the same time. So there is a chance that an indoctrination email and an engagement email could arrive in their inbox on the same day, 2 emails. Now, one way that you can kind of mitigate the effects of that, which, number one, they're minimal, because it's only going to happen for the first 3 days. And that's when they're most excited about you. But if you're worried about it, send the indoctrination series from the brand itself in the from field and the engagement series from an individual at the company. Right? That way they're at least not staring at the same name in their inbox. Helena says, can you say again how many emails go out in the engagement section? It's going to be anywhere from 3 to 7 typically, but it could be longer if you're selling something that's more expensive. Nancy says, in all 3 engagement letters, do you give the offer they would have to pay for? Yep, Nancy, typically you're going to make a call to action in every single one of them. So you're going to say, all right, so, if you want this benefit, then take this action. If you logically believe that this is the right thing for you, take this action. If you fear that you're about to miss out, take this action. So same call to action presented in a different way. Or it says, I'm trying to get people to come out and tour my co-working space. Yeah, or don't think about your offer, right? Don't think about the fact that you have a co-working space. Think about, what do the people who would occupy your co-working space, what are the questions that they have, right? So maybe it's the perfect, how to run or how to hire and manage remote employees, right? So maybe you do something for the management team, showing them about how they can hire and manage remote employees, and then you say, great, now that you know how to hire them, where should you stick them? Come check out our co-working space. That might not be a good example, but just think, what is their desired end result? Talk more about your prospects and your customers and your clients, about them and what they want, and less about what you have to sell. Meet them where they are. Engage in the conversation that they're having in their mind. And to the extent that your product or service helps, then do it. So there is some way to do it. Robert says Infusionsoft doesn't have a don't send if they have this tag. They got something, Robert. I know, because we do it. So there is some way to do it. I can guarantee you that, sir. I believe what we do is we set a tag that is, we will put them on an indoctrinated tag or something like that, and then if somebody has that tag, they don't get it sent, or it's the inverse of that. Maybe it's one of those things where everybody starts off as not indoctrinated, and then we give them a different one. Again, I'm not the tech guy, but I know that it can be done. Andy says, I think the thing I struggle with is I'm pushing the same thing in all engagement campaigns, book a consult. Andy, there's nothing wrong with having the same call to action, right? Again, let's go back to the golf instructor. Book a consult. If you want to putt better, I'll show you how to do that. Book a consult. As long as you are speaking to their need, it's okay if your call to action is the same. Okay? Now, you can change it up a little bit if you want, right? You could say, book a consult, and that's what I said before. Come to our putting clinic. Come to our long drive clinic. Maybe tweak up the consult so that you rename the consult. It's not just come on some, boilerplate free consult. Maybe you do something more special for them, a little more customized. Craig says, besides Infusionsoft, is there another CRM system you recommend for the beginner marketer? Craig, Infusionsoft is what we use, and so it's hard for me to recommend any others. I know that just about any autoresponder solution that has some basic automation can probably work, but what I would do is I would ask them, maybe hit them up and ask them the question of, okay, if I want to, if I want to send an email series to people who are brand new subscribers and not send them if they're already on the list and they're re-signing up, how do I do that? If they can answer that question, then it will probably work. If they can't, then I would probably pass. Okay. Yep, Tristan, it matches the lead magnet. Amro, sorry you were late, man. Yeah, we'll get you the presentation. John Hutchison says, is Gain Logic Fear Sequence dealing with the product, which will help them, or is it more about the gain or loss of what we're offering in general? No, gain, it's all about them. So if you want this particular desired end result, then go sign up for this thing. It's all about them. They're going to lose out on an opportunity to move forward, okay? Everything is about them. Dee asks, how would this work for retail store brick and mortar? It's exactly the same thing, Dee. You could run special offerings, so you could have people get on like an insiders list, right? To, let's say, for example, you're a shoe store, right? You could run a special promotion where it's, attention parents, we're on this day, we're running a back to school thing where it's going to be for members only. You get to come into the store early and you'll save 40% or something. And we'll, pour you a glass of champagne to celebrate that the kids are going back to school and get your days back, right? Something like that. So maybe they sign up for that. Now they're on the list. They come out for that special promotion. And the next time you do a special promotion, you invite them to do that as well. right? Maybe the next time it's hey, it's baseball season. Come get your kids cleats. Again, I'm not suggesting you even own a shoe store, but you kind of get the idea. All right. Yeah, now there's people talking about like tags and decision diamonds, and I'm getting really scared because I don't know how all that works. So Bilal will ask the questions, I'll answer that, and then we'll move on to the third phase. He asks, how often would you recommend to send out an advertisement for an e-commerce business as an outbound call center? Should we follow up on these calls 1 day, 2 days? So I'm going to talk about how often you should mail your list at the end. But the short answer is a minimum of once per week, okay? A minimum of once per week. So that's the quick answer, and then I'll give you a more extensive one later. All right, so that was step 2. Now let's talk about step 3, which is ascension. So ideally, the engagement series did its job, okay? Ideally, the engagement series did its job. They bought something, or they scheduled an appointment, or they came in, right? But they did something, right? They moved beyond just merely being a prospect, and now, whether they're an opportunity, whatever the jargon you use to determine the prospect customer life cycle, they did that. Now what you want to do is you want to treat them differently because they've taken an action. They didn't just opt in. They took an additional action. This is a more valuable person. And so that's what the Ascension series does. It turns ordinary buyers into multi-buyers. It turns fans into super fans. And what we call this a digital marketer the value loop. Because I know a lot of people, they have concerns with upselling people. They have concerns with when somebody buys one thing, making them an offer after that, right? Or if they come into your store, should you ask them to come back again? And the answer is yes, as long as you have something valuable for them. I mean, I would hope, and this gets mildly esoteric, but I would hope that everyone listening to this is selling something that truly brings value into your customers' lives, right? You are not just in this to like rape and pillage the earth, okay? That what you deliver gives value above and beyond what you are charging for it. So assuming that's the case, then I don't have an issue with making additional offers to them, okay? Now, you want to do that in its due time. Oftentimes, by the way, Ascension isn't a matter of getting them to buy more. It's a matter of getting them to consume what they bought, especially if you're a high ticket. So you want to turn them not just from a buyer, but into a consumer. So if somebody signed up for, if you sell really high-end, complex software, like Infusionsoft, for example, if you go and buy Infusionsoft, then it's not so much about getting you to go buy a bunch of other stuff. It's about getting you to actually use Infusionsoft, right? That's still Ascension. Okay, so Ascension, whether it's in the form of buying or Ascension, whether it's in the form of consuming, that's what should happen next. Now, there's ways to automate this process. So if this is handled online and somebody comes through and they make a purchase, then, and all that's tied into Infusionsoft, then you can say, great, everybody who buys this, move them into this Ascension series. Take them out of this engagement series, move them into this Ascension series. That's all done through tagging and Campaign Builder. Again, please don't ask me the technicals of how it works. I don't understand how it works completely, but there are people that do. And I know the folks in Infusionsoft can point you in the direction of folks that do and can tie that up for you. And the nice thing is once it's built, it's built. It's good. And that's why we call this a machine. It's built. It's done. It just kind of runs. Okay? And interestingly enough, another point that I'll make is, number one, it doesn't have to be your product. Okay, so if you're telling me, well, I only have one thing to sell, that's fine. I would recommend that you set a New Year's resolution for expanding your product line or expanding your service delivery options. But in the meantime, sell somebody else's stuff. Have a joint venture relationship, an affiliate relationship, a reseller agreement. But offer them something. Just think, what is the next logical thing? Now that they have this, what do they need? And even if you don't do it for them, if you get it for them, you're doing them a service, okay? And the campaign that I'm going to send you that you're going to receive after this is over, Gain Logic Fear, that will also work with some slight modifications as an Ascension series. So gain logic fear, when you go through, you'll see it references, hey, you just opted into this special report. You just requested this lead magnet, so I know that you're interested in this topic, right? Typically when you're doing follow-up, the first step is to reference the previous action they just took. So the previous action they just took in the case of the engagement series is they opted in. They gave you their contact info to receive something. Same thing with the Ascension series, right? Hey, you just bought this, or hey, we just had a call, right? Whatever the thing is they did before, you want to reference that, you want to encourage that, and you want to say, now that you did that, the next step is to do this, okay? So slightly modified, the gain logic fear campaign can also function as what we call an upsell abandon campaign, and it can work as an Ascension campaign. All right, let me give a quick check of the questions. Matt Solomon, is this webinar an example of the Ascension series for Infusionsoft built for keeping me connected to the product? Great question. Let's get a little meta right now. So truth be told, I don't know if the people who are on this webinar, because they just said, hey, will you come on and give some good content to our people? And I was like, sure, because they've been good to me, and so I'm happy to give some stuff for you guys. So I don't know if most of you who are on are active Infusionsoft users, or if you're people if you're prospects and you're thinking about using Infusionsoft. So to answer your question, Matt, because I think it's kind of a cool way to look at it since you're experiencing it right now, right? This can function as either an engagement series. So we know, for example, that those of you, so if you don't have Infusionsoft yet, right? If you don't have Infusionsoft yet, but you signed up for this particular webinar today, what do we know you're interested in? We know you're interested in email marketing. We know you're interested in email follow-up. So my hope is that, and I have no control of this, but my hope is that if you say, yeah, this sounds cool, I want to do that, and I want Infusionsoft to help, my hope is that when they sell you Infusionsoft, that they sell you Infusionsoft by talking about, oh, okay, yeah, so we know you're interested in automated email follow-up because you were on that webinar with Ryan Dice. So they should be able to, and maybe I'm kind of, making their sales job more difficult by giving you some insider knowledge, but, whatever, that's what we're here for. Hopefully they talk about that, right, as opposed to just talking about all the billions of features that Infusionsoft has that you may or may not care about. For those of you who are on this and you're already Infusionsoft users, then it functions as an Ascension campaign because we're teaching you some stuff, giving you some information, giving you some campaigns that you will hopefully use with Infusionsoft, which will increase your usage and increase your stick. So it functions as both, depending on who you are. Good question, Matt. Let's see. Jojo says, why do you use Infusionsoft instead of other programs? Jojo, at the risk of giving a little sales pitch, which is not going to be, I kind of tried all the other ones, and Infusionsoft is the best. And I can say that not because they paid me to do this, okay? Really. I mean, and I've used Infusionsoft for many, many, many years. And when I first started using them, they're probably going to be mad at me for saying this, but when I first started using Infusionsoft, it was terrible, terrible. Then it got, I call it was like the cream of the crop, right? So it was better than what was available at the time, but not much better. And really, I found in the last couple of years, it's gotten really, really good. All my companies combined, we do an enormous amount of revenue. At least seems like an enormous amount for me. I mean, we do a whole lot of tens of millions of dollars a year in revenue across all my different companies. And we do them in a lot of different markets. So we own makeuptutorials.com. We own survivallife.com. We own DIYready.com. We own e-commerce properties, and we also own some offline brick and mortar businesses. And so we have the opportunity to try a lot of different solutions. More than that, because I own digitalmarketer.com, you can probably imagine that we have a lot of CRMs knocking on our door wanting us to use their solution. And so we try it. I mean, because I'm going to use what's best for my company. And we always come back to Infusionsoft. So that's the answer there. And none of this is an affiliate link, by the way. There's not even a link here, but there you go. That's why I use it. Far from perfect. None of them are perfect. Sometimes you got to go with the cream of the crop. But Infusionsoft is actually not that. They're actually pretty dang good. Okay, Lucy says, can you give some examples of Ascension emails? Are they the same as the engagement? Yeah, they certainly can be, Lucy. So it depends. Is the goal of the ascension to try to get them to ascend by buying something else? In which case, yeah, the engagement, it's going to function very similarly to the engagement, just instead of referencing, hey, you opted in for this or you registered for this, you're saying, hey, because you bought this. Whereas, but if you're trying to ascend them through consumption, then it's going to be really different. You're just trying to get them to consume, to use what they got. But I'll give you another example, right? So all of you registered for this webinar, okay? The webinar itself was a lead magnet, right? The webinar itself was a lead magnet. The engagement series was the email series that went out trying to get you to actually attend, right? That was the engagement series. Now, at the end, I'll make a little offer thingy. And for those of you who take advantage of it, you'll hopefully move to an Ascension series, right? That's how that whole process works. This is all getting very creepy and very meta, but I hope it's helping you out. Okay. So step 4, segmentation, all right? Segmentation. Now, segmentation is where people go when they're not in an engagement series and when they're not in an Ascension series. So let's say the engagement series doesn't do its job, okay? The person opts in for the special report about driving the ball farther, and they go all the way through it, and they don't book an appointment. Nothing happens, right? Then they go into the segmentation series. Same thing if somebody does buy, but they don't ascend. They're eventually going to go back into your segmentation bucket. So this is your primary broadcast list. This is where you're sending out your email newsletter, right? This is your primary broadcast list. Now, here's the thing. What most people want to do is they want to send out emails. They want to send out broadcasts to try to sell something. I'm going to suggest that you don't do that. I'm going to suggest that you send out broadcasts that try to get your subscribers to re-opt in to another lead magnet to put them into another engagement series. Now, you may be thinking, why would I want them to re-opt in if they're already on my list? And the answer is, when they re-opt in, you are reconsummating the relationship. I call it date night, okay? If you think about what was the thing that they did that got them on your list to begin with, it was they opted in. They registered, and that's when they were most excited about you. So when you do that, they're opting in and they're registering again, all right? It's like, every Thursday night at my house is date night. My wife and I go out on a date. I don't say, oh, now that we're married, I never need to take you out on a date anymore. No, right? You want to do that. And so it resets the relationship. It's really, really a good thing to do. It also allows you to give value first. You're not just sell. You're going out to your list saying, hey, go check this out. And it also makes sure that you're only selling to the people and making offers to people who are ready for them. So when you go to your list and you say, hey, go buy this, come into our store, call our number, blah, right? That's when they get sick of it. When you're going out to your list saying, hey, we just published a new report. We just published a new checklist. We just published this thing over here. We're doing a webinar. You're giving. And for the people that raise their hand and say, cool, I'm interested in that, they get put in an engagement series. Then you sell to them. You only make offers to folks when they're actually ready for them. So this is how you make more by mailing your list less. Okay? That's how you do that. Go through and see, are there any other questions about the segmentation series? Let's see. Can everybody out there, can you still hear me, guys? There we go. Louise says, how about asking them to fill out a form where they can update their preferences? Yeah, you can ask them to update their preference, Louise, but it doesn't give them any immediate value. Saying, hey, come over here, fill out this form. What you're basically saying is, hey, come over here and tell me how I can better market to you. It's not a true value in advance, and because the offer isn't as good, you're not going to have as many people. You're not going to have as many people doing it. Okay, so it's far better. I mean, I know if somebody, if I'm a golf instructor and somebody opts in for something about putting, then I know they're interested in putting. I'm going to talk to them about putting. The other thing to keep in mind is that people's preferences change over time. There's going to be a time where I say, yep, I'm interested in putting. Now, I may go out there and putt lights out the next round. And I'm sorry I keep using a golf analogy. Sometimes I get an analogy I can't quit. But if I go out there and I putt the next round lights out, well, now all of a sudden I think I'm a golf master and I don't need to hear about that anymore, right? Preferences change and they ebb and flow. And so the only clear way to know, okay, this person right now today is interested in this is to ask them, are you interested in this? You know, and if they take an action, if they raise their hand, if they opt in, if they register, then guess what? They're interested. Not because they told you, but because they took an action. And then if they take the next action, then you really knew they were interested. If they don't, then you talk to them about something else. Okay? KR, glad that you think it's awesome. I agree. Oren says, I don't really understand the transition between segmentation back into engagement. It's pretty simple, Oren. You just have them re-opt in. So you could have them re-opt into a web form, and then you set up a trigger to where when somebody opts in for that new thing, you tell them, okay, take them out of our general broadcast list and put them in this engagement list. And that is all done through tagging in Infusionsoft. Chiara, back. Glad to get you back, Chiara. Sorry about that. You're asking, is this for people that opt out? No, this is for people that don't buy in the engagement series. So this is your general broadcast list. Earl says the people leave the segmentation list as soon as they have done a re-opt and the segmentation itself. Yeah, it's not that they're necessarily leaving the list, Earl, because it's done through tagging, but fundamentally, yes. Right, fundamentally, yes. They're no longer receiving your general broadcast anymore. Shazim says, in real estate, would the segmentation be like a monthly market update? It could, Shazim. Every real estate agent in the world sends out a monthly market update. You know who doesn't care about monthly or market updates? Their clients. They just don't. I would much rather see real estate agents. Like, I think if a real estate agent sent out a thing that said, here's the perfect packing technique to make sure your China never breaks. Go over here to opt in for it. Now, if somebody actually opts in for that, they're thinking about moving, or they know someone that is. Because I live in my house right now. I've lived in it for a while. I have no desire to sell. Telling me how to pack my China so it doesn't break is utterly irrelevant to me. So forget about the market updates and the crap like that, right? Put out something that is really specific, that maybe only a handful of people on your list are going to be interested in, but those people, you know beyond the shadow of a doubt, okay, they got to be interested, or they know somebody who is. They either got it for themselves or on behalf of somebody else. KR says, how often should you send these lead magnets? I'll show you that in just a second. So hang tight. Oren says, if they're already on that track, how does that work? Is there a point where they were removed from the engagement track? Yeah, Oren, so let's say an engagement series is 5 emails, for example. At the end of the 5th email, if they didn't buy or they didn't do something to get moved into an engagement, into an ascension series, then they would automatically get put in the segmentation series. Okay, that's what they would do. Now, again, when it comes to Infusionsoft, what you want to do is say, okay, I want to do that machine thingy that Ryan was talking about. And there are people that are there who will know what you were talking about, I promise, because we've trained a lot of their people, and they've read the book. Tim says, how about answer a survey where you deliver the survey results? The thing about surveys, Tim, is there's not an immediate benefit. You're basically saying, hey, people, come over here and fill out this survey, and then when you're done with the survey, I'll give you the results of the survey. It's okay, but I mean, did I really, as the survey taker, did I really gain a whole lot? I mean, I'm now more informed, I guess, as to the opinions of others, but that's not what I want. That may be what you want. You may want that data, but is that really what they want? So think about that. Jamie says, what about selling events? That's once a year. How do we keep them engaged? Jamie, you should be sending them content on a very regular basis. If you do an event, I'd be taking clips from that event, highlights from that event, and I'd be sending it out to them. And just because you only do an event once a year, it doesn't mean you only have to sell them something once a year. Right? You should be selling them other stuff throughout the year. So I'd be doing that. Louise says, sorry, Ryan, can you please explain then how you would ask them to opt in again? Sure, Louise. So once they're on your list, you're going to send them an email saying, hey, we've got this new special report or this new video, this new whatever. and you would send them to a web form, to a page with a web form on it. They would fill out the web form and to get access to that content. So you're going to use gated content. They fill out the web form, and in filling out that form, they're effectively opting in again. What about, Boris says, what about holiday, event-specific campaigns or product releases? Do you still want them to re-engage, re-opt in before the offer? Sure. Yeah, you could say, as we're about to do a digital marketer, hey, we're running a 12 days of deals. So sign up to get on the 12 days of deals list. No reason you can't. Okay. I have got to move, guys. There's a lot more questions, and I'm sorry I cannot answer them, but we promised we would finish this in an hour and a half, and I know we got a late start, so let me just finish up real quick. So very quickly, here's an example segmentation series that you could send out to your list if you wanted to mail a number of days during the week. So I'll give you multiple variations. So let's say Monday, you could mail what we call a blind email. Okay, a blind email. And a blind email is one where you just go out to your list and you say, hey, everybody on my list, I've got something really, really cool that I'm really, really excited about. You don't address what the thing is. You just say, I got something neat. I think you're going to like it. Go over here to get it. Now, the only people that are going to click on that are the people on your list who are most excited and enthusiastic about you and what you do, okay? Because you haven't really given them a good reason to do it. So that's picking all your low-hanging fruit. That's picking all the people who just, they love you. Then on Tuesday, you could follow up with a more direct email. So, hey, everybody, we've got this new video that I just released on this amazing putting technique. Go check it out. Ooh, putting? I want to know about putting. Okay, I'll check it out. That gets you the people that are interested in putting. Then you could follow up with just content, okay? Here, let me give you a preview of this new putting technique I've been talking about. If you want the complete video, go over here to opt-in. So it's content in the form of a newsletter, in the form of a video, with a call to action at the end encouraging them to sign up. And in that content, you could just have a link within the content. You know, so here's a blog post that I wrote. By the way, if you want the complete system, go here to check it out. You could do an image ad below the content. We do this all the time at Digital Marketer. You could also put an ad block within the content. But the point is, use some of the content, and in the content, there's a call to action to go and do something. Then on Thursday, you could take the day off, let subscribers catch up. On Friday, if the campaign is doing well, you could follow up with something else or talk about something else completely or take the day off. Same thing on Saturday, and then on Sunday, take the day off. So if you want an example segmentation series for sending out a broadcast 5 days a week, there's a pretty good flow for you. Now, I know most of you listening are thinking, there's no way I'm going to email my list 5 days a week. Okay, that's fine. Let's talk about what you do if you want to email your list 3 times a week. Then what I would do is on Monday, I would lead off with content. Hey, check out this really cool video of me showing this new putting strategy. I would follow up on Tuesday with a relevant offer, with a direct thing, saying, hey, if you want to become a better putter, then you need to go check this out. So we've already led with content. We've given value first. Take Wednesday off, and then on Thursday, you could send some more content or kind of a wild card, anything you want to do, right? If you want to send 2 broadcasts a week, I'd go content and then direct immediately following. A mistake that I see a lot of email marketers make is if they're only going to send 2 emails, they'll spread them out. You'll actually have more impact if you go boom, boom, if you stack them one day after another, than if you spread them out over the week, okay? And if you really only email your list once a week, we found Tuesdays to be a really great day to mail the list across most of our markets. Again, test it. You may find that it's different, but Mondays and Wednesdays and Thursdays, it seems, are when email volume is at its peak. So Tuesday, if you're only going to email once a week, Tuesday seems to be pretty effective. I would send content, and in that content, say, if you like this, you're definitely going to love this other thing. Send them a link to get the other stuff. If you do that, then no one's going to have a problem with it. And kind of the point that I make is if you aren't broadcasting your email list at least once a week, you hate money, okay? If you aren't following up with your list at least once a week, you've got to know they're going to get tired, all right? They're going to go away. They're going to stop paying attention to you. They're going to forget that you exist, okay? So at least once a week, commit to sending something of value to your list with some kind of call to action that ideally puts them into a relevant engagement series. All right, really, really quickly, re-engagement, the 5th phase. What happens if after 60 days they haven't opened or clicked on an email? All right, it's been 60 days, they haven't opened or clicked on a single email. You can actually set this up in Infusionsoft and say, okay, if somebody hasn't opened or clicked on one of my emails in 60 days, drop them in this re-engagement series. And the idea behind this is just to wake them up. So for 7 days, you're going to try to send them stuff. Hey, I've got this free thing for you over here. I've got this great gift over here, right? It's flowers and gifts for about 7 days. Then another 7 days, you want to go to the, hey, are you alive? Or are you mad at me? We call it like the passive-aggressive technique. Are you mad at me? Did I do something wrong? Emails like that, okay? And then at that point, if it's been 14 days and they still haven't opened and they still haven't clicked, then you're probably better off just to clean those leads from your list or to move them into a different database because they're just not that into you. And the more you follow up and the more you email people who have not opened and they have not clicked and they haven't showed any interest, the worse it's going to hurt your deliverability and it's going to hurt the deliverability of all your mails. So it's painful to do, but I recommend that you remove the unengaged. Okay? So action items. Get yourself a 3-part indoctrination sequence, a 3 to 7-part engagement sequence, a 3 to 7-part ascension sequence, a 1 to 5 email segmentation broadcast plan per week, and I gave you some examples of those, and that 14-day re-engagement sequence. Once you have all of those parts, then you have the makings of a machine, of a true email follow-up machine that can grow. You can add additional engagement series, and you can get to a point where all of your follow-up can be completely automated, okay? All your follow-up can be completely automated. I promised that I would send you that 3-part engagement sequence, gain, logic, fear. I will double check as soon as we get off and make sure that the folks in Infusionsoft are in fact going to send that to you guys, but that should be coming. The other kind of shameless pitch that I want to make to you is this. If you want to get help really thinking through this process, right? Thinking through the process initially of what is my customer life cycle, right? Because I talked about how with engagement, you need to, with your engagement series, it's a matter of talking to them about what they're interested in, right? And then moving them to the next step. Well, to answer that question, you need to know what that next step is, all right? And so the folks in Infusionsoft have set aside some time where they can talk to folks who are on this webinar and help you, number one, brainstorm lead magnet ideas. They can also help you map out your prospect customer lifecycle so that you can build one of these machines, and they can just in general talk to you more about this process. Obviously, their goal in doing this is that you will decide that, okay, cool, I want to do that, and I think that Infusionsoft is the best tool. So what I've just given you is a great strategy, and it's a strategy that can be applied manually. I mean, heck, if you want to use a index card system doing direct mail and follow-up phone calls, you can do this, right? That's why I wanted to give you an overarching strategy. But if you want to automate the whole process, that can be done as well. That's what we have set up, and that's what Infusionsoft allows you to do. So, full disclosure, and hopefully this is not, I mean, we're all marketers and business people here, right? So clearly the people at Infusionsoft would like for you to use their platform, their solution, to set up and automate this. But I also know, and they've told me and they've assured me, that this is not a sales call, right? This marketing growth plan that they're offering you is not a sales call. It is a value in advance proposition where you come on, talk about your business, get some insight into that, talk about your lead magnet, map out your prospect customer life cycle, and their hope is that you say, wow, this is really great. Okay, let's talk about how Infusionsoft can help me do that. And if you don't, if you say, wow, this is really great, I'm going to go use some other company to do it, then that's fine. All right, that's the risk that they're taking as a business. But again, people have asked, which one do we use? We use Infusionsoft because we tried all the other ones and we found that Infusionsoft was the best for us. So if you're going to ask me which one do I recommend, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't recommend them. So hopefully that is as transparent as we can be. With that said, we are over by about a minute due to the late start. Again, my apologies. I will scroll down and see if I can answer just a couple of quick questions. So Bilal says, we receiving the PowerPoint. Yes, Bilal, I sent it to them, and I will tell them to go ahead and turn it into a PDF and send it to you guys. So hopefully you guys like that. You're very welcome. Thanks, Jason. Glad you listened to the Entree Leadership podcast. Appreciate that. Well, cool. I must have done either done such a good job that you don't have any questions, or bored the snot out of you that you don't have any questions because you left. Because it doesn't look like. Oh, here we go. Lawrence has a question. When you have multiple products to sell and have created multiple engagement series, how do you deploy them? Are they Ascension series after Ascension series? Yes. So you can definitely do that, Lawrence. It's a really advanced concept, although it's a great problem to have. I've got all these problems. I've got all these products to sell, right? But yes, what you can do is when somebody makes a purchase, if the next logic, if you already have an engagement series for something else that they should buy, then it's really simple just to move them into that engagement series and to automate that process. So if somebody bought product A, then move them into engagement series for product B. And then that engagement series kind of functions as an Ascension series. Engagement and Ascension, they are two sides of the same coin. It's just in one of them, with engagement, you're trying to really turn them into a buyer. And with Ascension, they've already taken a positive action. You want them to do it again, okay? Or you want them to consume. Aaron says, what if you don't have a sophisticated database of customers? Aaron, you could start doing this with just, 20 people, right? I wouldn't feel like you got to start with a whole lot of folks. The important thing, and it goes back to what I said before with the chicken and egg, you're going to be able to build a much bigger list when you know that you can monetize that list once you have it. That's the critical thing, right? That's the really, 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 really critical thing. A lot of times it's not that you don't know how to build a list, it's that you can't afford to build a list. So that's why if you go and figure out how to build a list, or how to monetize a list, then building it is much, much easier. Amy asks, hey Ryan, do you allow them to unsubscribe themselves from a sequence instead of the entire list? Can Infusionsoft do this? Yep, it absolutely can. You can set it up to where they would opt out of an engagement series and not your list as a whole. Shazim says, can you please go into a little more examples for the Ascension series for real estate agents? Shazim, what I would say is, so your goal as a real estate agent is to get people to call and schedule an appointment with you, and so your Ascension series might be about following up, getting them to actually list with you. And if they list with you, and let's say you sell their home, then maybe you have an Ascension series that's all about getting them to give you a referral. So it really is just about figuring out, okay, what is your prospect customer life cycle? And just positioning each series so that it moves them further down that process. So it's kind of hard without knowing your prospect customer life cycle, but that's what the folks at Infusionsoft are offering to do over at Infusionsoft.com/Ryan D. Clever name. Infusionsoft.com/Ryan D. That is my special tracking link so they know that I actually showed up for this webinar. And did this, schedule an appointment with them and have them talk you through what your prospect customer life cycle should be, because then matching a follow-up process to that to move them down that process becomes much simpler. You get out of the hypotheticals. This is great. We have a lot of clients who ask us to implement your plan on Infusionsoft. SH, that's great. SH, you should consider becoming a certified partner. We'd love to have you if you're doing implementation work. A digital marketer certified. Your plan on Infusionsoft. SH, that's great. SH, you should. Like we get the most opt-ins and opens over the weekend. Isn't Friday a great day? John, for the most part, Friday is not good for us, but for a lot of our markets, like the hobby markets, it is pretty good. And that's why I said do your own testing. Tuesday was kind of a general catch-all if you're only going to mail once, but if you're finding that weekends are the best, heck yeah, mail Fridays and Saturdays. All right. Alana says we have multiple services. Should there be a series for each service? Yep, ideally, but start with one. Okay? Start with one. Okay, guys, so I am way, way, way over. And so I apologize, but I'm going to have to cut it off at some point. What I will tell you, if you have more questions that we didn't get a chance to answer, send that to the folks in Infusionsoft. I'm sure they'll come to me and say, hey, this is what everybody was wondering, and I will do my best if they can send me a list of the questions to send you guys as many answers as possible. And if we need to do a follow-up, I'm happy to do that. I always feel bad, having people leave without getting their question answered, but just looking at it right now, we will literally be on here for another 3 hours, and I don't want to do that to you guys. So what I will tell you, my advice, go to infusionsoft.com/RyanD, get your appointment scheduled and talk to someone specifically about your situation. Again, there a lot of the folks at Infusionsoft I've personally trained. They've gone through and read my book with the Invisible Selling Machine. Probably should have mentioned that in the intro. But every Infusionsoft user gets a copy of my book. So hopefully if you're an Infusionsoft owner, you have that. But they know this stuff. They understand the lingo. So don't, get on the phone, schedule an appointment, and talk to them specifically about how you can do this for your business. And the first step, map out that prospect customer lifecycle. Get a sense of where do they start and where do they end, and what are the steps in between. Then map out what are the lead magnets that you need to engage with them, and they should be able to help you with that. And then really it's a question of automation. We have made our campaigns. So we have 36 email campaigns that we've written. I'm sending you one of them with Gain Logic Fear. There are 35 more campaigns that we have that can be pushed into Infusionsoft. So if you're already an Infusionsoft owner and you would like to get the machine pushed into your Infusionsoft app, talk to the folks at Infusionsoft about that. And if you're not and you would like to get Infusionsoft and the machine, talk to them about that as well. So with that said, guys, I got to cut it off. Again, my apologies if I didn't get to your question. I'll do my best to do a roundup and get all those answered. Thank you, everybody, for your attention. My apologies for the late start. As I mentioned, technology not always a friend. But I hope you got a lot out of this. I hope you really understand the strategy, and I hope, if nothing else, that you remember that chicken and egg scenario. Figure out, answer the question first. How, if nothing else, do you remember that chicken and egg scenario? If you answer that question, then you can start building your list. Okay? Thanks again, everybody, and I'll talk to you next time.
This concludes today's webinar. You may now disconnect.